I've got the C50 on with its proper actual shaped filter, the one that can do that against it. And I will just get the settings correct. And then I'll get the pop-out chat in the same area of the thing so I can read it easily. And then 1 second. Right, Shadow Company, I'm just going to get the thing in the right position. I'll do the white screen thing and then turn that lamp off, I think, because the lamp is just too bright in my face. There we go. There we are, that's better. Right, so let's get the chat window back up. So yeah, I'm good. I'm just thought I'd do a stream a little bit earlier today because it was more convenient the time to do it. I think I'd messed about with the straps on this the other day, and now I'm wishing I didn't because it's not as comfortable as it used to be. But yeah, so not loads of people have watched the video on it, but obviously I've got the hydration thing with the camelback. So what's pretty cool with this now is I can just flick. There's the lever on that side. Right, Rayla audio. Is it one or not? Can't actually. Yeah, it is there. There we go. So get the straw in, connect the camel back up. And that works surprisingly well. Just get the straw out my mouth. There we go. So yeah, that actually makes me kind of like drinking tubes with a camelback adapter because it works a lot better than the canteen system where you have to hold the canteen upside down above your head. Because at least with the camelback, all you have to do is suck a bit on the straw and the water comes down it really easily. It's just like sucking, you know, for a regular straw of a drink. So yeah, that's good. So yeah, I did do 2 videos on it. But basically, what you do is for a camelback, you get the adapter valve for the particular type of masks you're using, and all the British Avon masks and the American built Avon masks all use the same drinking tube adapter. So it's really easy to do because obviously all you have to do is just get the just literally get the little plug and you plug it in there, and then it works as a drinking tube thing. If I still got the Chinese mask in this room, I'll just have a look. The FMJ 08, I think it is. That one, I think that one actually has a drinking tube on it, doesn't it? I'll see if that works with it, because I'm pretty sure they must have ripped off the Avon thing for that. So let me have a look if I've got that. The South Korean one worked, because they ripped that off for the South Korean mask. So I think it's this bag. All right, Niels. So yeah, let's have a look. So I think, yeah, there we go. I reckon the Chinese have done the rip-off thing with this. So let's have a look. So there's the straw. Again, the straw isn't actually as good on this 10th generation masks. It's much more of just a flimsy little straw rather than a... So it's not a really good drinking tube adapter to get it to go into your mouth. I can't actually do that without pulling it away. There you go. Right, let's test it. So that connects down there, I think, if I remember. Yep. Now, I reckon the Chinese have ripped off an Avon one, but let's test it. Not a great connection, but it does work. Now try and get that straw out of my mouth. There we go. So yeah, the Chinese did just literally rip off the S10's drinking tube adapter when they did their S10 rip off. You can see there it's got a bit of water on at the end still. So yeah, that's good to know. So yeah, you can use the FMJ08 and all the variants of it that have a drinking tube do work with just the civilian, not civilian, sorry, just do work with the S10 canteens or the Camelback adapters. Take that one off though, because the airflow isn't as good through that. Yeah, but well, the thing is, right, I'm not surprised the Chinese copied it one-to-one. What I'm more surprised at with that is that they did a, like they didn't have their own drinking tube adapter. Because on a lot of countries which do kind of rip off masks, they always use their own national drinking tube adapter. So like all the American masks obviously have their own like style drinking tube that's different than that one. When the Czechs ripped off the M17 with the M10, they actually copied the drinking tube exactly. But personally, Steve, like I've said before, with even with all like the modern canteen bottle top things, I wouldn't think it's still a great idea in the sense that I don't think you're actually meant to do it when there's chemicals around. I think the idea is that you're doing it basically in a safe environment. So I think it's meant to be sterile anyway, because obviously I'd still wonder if, you know, like say with this Camelback or with a canteen lid, if shit got into that section, surely that would still be, you know, it would still go through when you drink there. Like in that bit there where the actual valve connects. So yeah, that's the thing with if you've got a question, Bob, just ask it, unless YouTube's censoring your question. But yeah, like I said, that's what kind of surprises me though, is that it's actually a direct rip-off of the S10's drinking tube. I'm trying to actually remember the later Chinese masks if they use the same drinking tube system, because obviously different countries use different things. Do I have my Scott FRR behind me anyway? Because if I do, I can't remember if that used the same or different thing. I think it's there. There you go, Cliff helmet. Off he goes. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember this. If this, no, that's a different drinking tube adapter. I can already tell. I mean, I'm pretty certain it is. Yeah. So with the Scott FRR, you can't use that with an S10's drinking tube adapter, which, again, is another thing I don't like, where when the GSR was adopted, the fact that they... oh, you've got the spammers on again. Right, what that means I have to do then is I definitely need to do the thing in the settings, if I can remember how to do that. Because, again, the annoying thing with this is you can't set it as a default setting. So customization, only subscribers who have been subscribed for 5 minutes can comment. There we go. That generally gets rid of spammers, because they have to then, you know, keep making accounts specifically for a live stream to spam it. So yeah, because I said that's one of the things I didn't like with the GSR was that when they Britain went to the GSR, I think they changed the drinking tube adapter, if I remember right, because I don't think it works on the canteens I've got with the S10's drinking tube. And that seems like one of those things you demand that the company makes the drinking tube to the same specification you have, so logistically you don't have to replace all your canteens. But yeah, so that's not right. But yeah. Have I got the OM90 in this room? I think I do. Let me just go get the OM90, and I'll see if the OM90 ripped off the S10's drinking tube adapter as well. Bob, if you've got a question, like I said, you need to ask the question, not just keep saying help me and not actually asking it. But if you're asking the question, YouTube's censoring it. Yeah, like I said, the GSR is weird because it's one of those masks that was made by Scott, but it was made by Scott around the time they went bankrupt as a company. So apparently the modern GSRs are all right, but that's because the British government then just gave Avon the contract to make the same masks. They're being made by Avon. Although that must sting a bit if you're Avon. Like the British government rejected your masks from the competition, went with the competitor, and then asks you to fix the competitor's mess anyway. Because yeah, Britain would have been better just going for the M50 or the C50. Or an FM12 for replacing the S10, but they didn't. So, what about AliExpress and eBay Shadow Company? I don't know what that's in relation to. It's just the only comment I can see from you, other than they copied the AK one. It just says AliExpress and eBay. So again, if you've typed a previous thing in, YouTube censored that as well. So yeah, I don't like this mask. I'm not going to bother putting the filter on it for now. Have I done reviews on the gas masks? I've reviewed loads of gas masks. What are you on about? If you're on about the ones all the ones I've bought off AliExpress, yes, everything I've bought off there I've reviewed. Yeah, if I've done a review of them and I've done an affiliate link, it means I've bought them, thought they were decent enough to recommend to people, and then I've done the link. But yeah, every single one from AliExpress I bought, I've done a review on. I wouldn't buy a mask and then not review it, because then that just completely wastes my money. If I at least do a review and stuff like that, I at least get some money back from YouTube advertising and whatever. So let's have a look at this one. So I reckon this is a rip-off of the S10s as well. So let's have a quick go. So I won't bother just shoving a filter on this. Hopefully the drinking tube is clean. It was new when I got this mask. But again, when masks have been in storage for a while, you never know how clean stuff like that is. Okay, so the drinking tube's actually a bit too short for me on this. There you go, I can bite it like that. Pull that bit down. Again, like I said, I just do not like the L90 much. It's the worst of the S10 rip-off masks. Can't even see if I'm doing that right now. Or is that a different... Oh, I think that's actually a completely different drinking tube adapter. Yeah, it is. Oh, this is just the American style one. So yeah, never mind. That won't work. Yeah, no. Should have looked at that first. No, the drinking tube on this is the rip-off of the US one that they ripped off of the M10. So obviously the Czechoslovakia and the Czech Republic all just used, what do you call them, US-style drinking tube stuff. At least I suppose when they went into NATO, that meant they didn't have to do anything else. But yeah, so again, another reason OM90 isn't good. Not as good a drinking tube thing, the American one. So I am not a fan of the American drinking tube thing, because it's... I think the Americans were the first country to come up with it. So, you know, props to that. But compared to the S10 one, less water flows through it, and it feels much more like you could get contaminants into it, because it's not as good. It's basically like two plungers that push against each other. So the outer metal rim pushes into the canteen top that pushes a valve down. And then I think there's a little spike on the canteen top that pushes in, that opens the valve in it that way. So, yeah, but like I said, the drinking tube system is definitely better on things like, I'd say like the S10 and all those, because of the fact that it's a bigger thing that lets more water through. And there's not like a rubber seal that's directly kind of vulnerable. Let's tighten those side straps up a bit. large in what? Masks? It depends totally on the mask. There's different sizing on the GS, sorry, not the GSR, the this one than the S10. Because they only do this in 3 sizes, where the S10 is 4. If you want one for collecting purposes, maybe, but it's not a good price for a filter in general, no, especially one that's old and expired. Why can't I get that little... Oh, there it is. It's because I've got the, like, eczema gloves on that doesn't help. But yeah, this one is, I said I quite like the drinking tube on this now, even though it might be a bit too big, like I said, because it's, there we go. Sometimes it goes into my mouth easily, other times it doesn't. So yeah, just got the camera back, push that in. Now you can see a bit of water still on there, but yeah, this works surprisingly well. All right, Hype, I was just showing the drinking tubes off to people with the Camelback like you recommended, and it is a hell of a lot better than the canteens, because like I was saying, some of these masks of the canteens I find useless as a drinking thing. But with the Camelback, you actually obviously have a lot more water than in the little canteen. Yeah, I did that in the video, one of the videos, and yes, it does. I'll just show it now, but it does completely work with it. Same with the FMJ08, or the variant of the FMJ08 I've got. It's the Chinese one's in exact rip-off as well as the S10 drinking tube. Yeah, I won't bother putting a filter on it just for showing this, but yeah, here we go. So there's this. It's got quite dusty since yesterday. So yeah. Look, this is kind of, again, this is kind of weird with these, because these are literally like, in some ways, I prefer the rubber actually on this to the C50. But like I said, because of how easily scratched the lenses get and how brittle the plastic is on like the front diaphragm bit, it's kind of like one of those things, like the rubber quality is good, but the plastic quality is a bit shit. So, but yeah, so just to show it. Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Ben. So yeah. Get that in my mouth first so I don't leak everywhere. I've got it too high because the straw. That's weird. That worked fine yesterday. If I probably tightened, touch the buttons, isn't it? Loosen that a bit. Yeah, that's weird. All right, there we go. Connects exactly like the C50. Well, all I know of OZKs is they smell absolutely horrid. And you can see a little bit of water on there. I won't drink loads of water on this stream just because I don't want to need a piss partway through the stream. But yeah, OZKs, I think they're pretty hot. So again, I don't know if they're any hotter than any of the other rubber Cold War commie suits, but for whatever reason, the OZK is one of the only suits I've ever, you know, like owned where I had to keep it outside. Because with a lot of the NBC suits I've got, I can just put them in a wardrobe and they're fine. You know, if the door's been shut on the wardrobe for ages, when you open it, you might notice a bit of a rubber smell for the first couple of minutes, but then it's gone. But the OZK suit was one of the few suits that when I physically had it in the house, it would stink up a room it was in. So I actually stored it then eventually in just like one of those kind of like patio storage things in the garden. Yeah, I suppose that's a good point as well. Not many, Yuri. I'm trying to think, because in theory, maybe one of those like injured people's, gas masks which seal around your neck, and then you could use a positive pressure system. But the problem is obviously the beard is going to break the seal, because I know, like, even in Britain, if like Sikhs or Muslim soldiers who might have a beard for like religious reasons, they have to do a specific thing with gas masks, if I remember right. So they seal, I can't remember if it's Vaseline or something like that, they have to put on their beards. I know in the Royal Navy, you're allowed a beard, but I think that's specifically because they can overpressure the ships, like NBC-wise, that way, where you don't have to rely on a regular respirator on the ship. Yeah, how much I've had, because I like this camel back now, I've actually ordered one of the old army ones, because I figured I can clean the main bag pretty easily, and then I've just bought one of the replacement tubes to go on it, because I did kind of want to get one of the camo, like, 95 DPM actual ones where the valve is physically kind of built into the rucksack. Because in this one, it's just one that goes into a thing this way. So I was just going to have a look how much of the water I've drunk out of this Camelback. I did say in the video as well, but what I've got coming for this now as well is the military valve that is a shut-off valve that goes there. Because although you can push, like I did, this directly into the tube there, the problem with this sort of system is there's no shut-off thing manually, whereas I think the Hydrolink, or whatever they call them, the military style ones, you can plug these into as well. You've got a shut-off valve that you can just turn there, so you can keep it connected to the mask and flick off the water supply as and when you want to. Whereas obviously the problem is how I'm doing it. You have to pull the plunger out to make sure you won't get a leak, because otherwise the water can still keep flowing through it. So yeah, I think I filled this up to nearly its full capacity when I first put this bladder in this bag. So yeah, since I've been doing that, it's gone down from over 2 litres to 1.5 litres. What's cool as well of these is you can... Does that actually leak, or is that... Did I make a seal there? See a bit of water leaking up the there. That was just... That valve does cut off, but yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of water dripping out where I've done that. But yeah, so you hold it like that to fill it up, because I kind of wondered what that plastic thing's for there, but so you can hold it under the tap. But at least these Camelbacks are actually quite easy to clean out, where I was kind of worried when I first got one. I was like, oh, is it going to be difficult to clean? But you can kind of reach inside it properly. No, I have no idea. I know where Henley is near Oxfordshire, but I have no idea if that is anything related to it at all. Yeah, let's put that down there for now and pop this back here, but I'll put that away properly later. But yeah, so I don't know. But like I said, C7s are a weird mask because of the fact that obviously the government didn't issue them for very long before basically recalling them and destroying a lot of them, recycling. The funny thing is, it did turn out a lot of C7s, a bit like some of the old dosimeters, weren't actually destroyed, but kind of got turned into weird Frankenstein masks. Because you'll see that, like, there's pages on like British nuclear industry stuff where C7s had like brand new filters essentially just duct taped onto them to be used by like people working in power plants and stuff like that. So there's a weird one you can find a picture of online where there's a brand new there's like a brand new what you call it, like S10 style filter on there, like, you know, with the plastic thing, which is obviously way newer than the 1950 style design. I've never found any reliable ones because, like I said before, they're in theory you can get these kind of ones where like in theory, unless you built your own hose, which was NATO on one end and GOST the other, or vice versa. But the problem is that GOST and NATO are different. And like I said, where I used to think the FP5 filters were normalized or whatever, and they weren't. But what was weird is obviously Maskpol sold loads of P5 filters that they put FP5 labels on.
because basically the P5 filters were GOST and the FP5 filters were NATO. But, you know, like my FP5 filters did legit make an airtight seal with GOST masks because they were GOST filters that had just been labelled wrong. Yeah, and as Hype says, it's very easy to get brand new GOST filters now because you can, in theory, get them from Russia, but you can just buy them directly from China as well. Because, like I said, there's a lot, you can get just GOST filters very easily on AliExpress. So yeah, if you want to use a GOST mask, just use GOST filters, really. If you want to, you know, most NATO masks, you will have no issue in Western countries finding shit tons of 40mm, you know, 1/7 or whatever they're called, thread pitch filters, Stanags. Basically, every industrial filter you buy in a Western country will be a NATO filter. And if you buy, you know, export ones from China or whatever, well, not export ones, you know, sold as exports from China but designed for the Chinese domestic market, they're GOST. There's probably some other countries as well that do the, you know, do that, but China and Russia are the two main ones I can think of off the top of my head, but there's probably others. But yeah, the problem is, like I said, unless you built your own adapter and did it properly, the problem I found is nearly every single one I bought online that was 3D printed would either be really brittle plastic, and channels that know a lot more about 3D printing processes than me said something about, like, a lot of 3D printed stuff has like molecular little holes in it, so it is going to let air through and like chemicals through, even if you know, it seems airtight, it's kind of not, if that makes sense. Again, with all the different resins you can print from now with 3D printers, that might not be an issue. But I do know that, like I was saying before, with the older 3D printed stuff, it was generally absolute shit quality. Like, you know, so many things I bought would survive a few screwings and unscrewings, and then a bit of them would just snap off because they weren't like good, sturdy quality plastics. They were almost like plasticine plastics. Yeah, I don't know if the Poles still do it as well as the Czechs, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense for the old Warsaw Pact countries to do that, like Maskpol, you know, used to do. Because of the fact, obviously, in a lot of those countries, you still had a shitload of domestic masks that would still be serviceable by, you know, lots of industries and things like that, which would just be in GOST still. But like I said, I don't know if Maskpol still does GOST filters. Because like I said, it used to be the P5 was the modern GOST filter, and the FP5 was the modern NATO one. But like I said, they were often mislabeled. And they did the FP211 as well, which was GOST threaded. Because the FP211 was the first like modern GOST filter I ever got. FP211. Let me just search FP211 filters and see if they still make them. B-Store's got a load in, but for £11 each. But yeah, like I said, they might be old stock now, FP211s. I don't know if but yeah, I know with FP211s, I think although the 211 is like the name for that family of filters, I don't know if you get ABEC ones, because a lot of them are like, you know, A2P3 or B2P3. Because that's an acid gas one I'm looking at the listing of at the moment. But that one was something to do with 2002, but I can't see if that's the expiry date or the production date. But like I said, I don't know if Maskpol still actually makes FP211s or not. Yeah, I don't know if he sells as much as he used to, Hype. Like now and again, I still get sent a couple of things if I want to sort of have a play about with stuff, because he did ask me the other day if there was anything I wanted as a freebie, and I said, to be honest, with all the amount of space all my shit takes up, especially if it's, you know, just the common Warsaw Pact stuff, I couldn't think of anything. Because the most interesting stuff he sent me recently, or say semi-recently, a couple of years ago, was just some of the really obscure kind of Warsaw Pact Geiger counters he'd got some of, where I think he'd only got like one or two of those to sell on, you know, but it was like, did I want to have a look at them before he sold them, sort of thing. Some of them works better than others, but yeah, you know, just like not the sort of DP5s, DP66s type ones, but some of the weirder, like, you know, like where the Soviets and the Poles tried to make smaller kind of little Geiger counters. And again, the problem was that they weren't anywhere near as well built as like the German Cold War little handheld units. The weirdest Warsaw Pact one I've still got is that East German thing, because it's one of those radiation alarms, a bit like that massive Polish Bakelite one I've got. But the fucking weird thing with the East German one is the fact it's got all the little bits you can rotate on it, and it looks more like it's an ATGM than the Geiger counter. Although I think, yeah, if I remember right, I think that one is just simply a radiation alarm. As in, I'm pretty sure it ticks and you get a little light that pulses with counts, but otherwise it doesn't do anything till you hit your set radiation threshold. But it's one of those ones that rather than just doing like 1 Rontgen, 50 Rontgen or whatever, like some of the other radiation alarm ones, it has like 30 different ranges you can set it to. But because it's an analog thing, it's, you know, a bit like how you could get, you know, any of the modern sort of digital dosimeters and set your own kind of radiation alarm at whatever threshold you wanted. This is a thing that just has a massive clicking dial where you know, you have like 50 presets to choose from, but, you know, they are all presets, so you can't just set it in a menu. So obviously, again, digital counters are a lot more practical, even if I like the old chunky analog ones. Something I did buy a while ago and I need to do a video on is a 12 volt. It's like two separate things. One's a plug socket converter to 12 volt DC. So, you know, you plug it in your wall and you get 12 volt DC, but it does it using two separate, you know, a red and black cable, as opposed to, you know, the ones that have just a standard plug. Sorry, no, right, I fucked that up, right. So one of the things is 12, it converts to 12 volt DC. It's a female car, you know, like cigarette socket one, but you can do it from a wall socket. And then I've got a cigarette plug to, yeah, essentially. And then it's, the other bit is a cigarette plug that goes into it, that goes to a red and black wire. So what it means is things like the, that Polish one that's on the wall there, I haven't used in ages, it's out of frame. That one, but more importantly, my DP3, because the DP3 is genuinely nice. Rather than having to get out the variable power supply, you know, crop clipping it on, doing that, you can actually just then plug it directly into a wall socket and it will convert the electricity to the correct thing. Because obviously, where's this? If I can get this out, it's not caught on loads of stuff. Oh, the probe. Let me disconnect the probe a moment. Because I've got the probe connected, I don't want to pull that along and knock a load of stuff over. 1 second while I unwire this. Yeah, so this guy, because he just uses 2 pins, you can just get this to run off of a wall socket, which would be pretty cool. So I don't have to get my variable power supply or a car battery to run it. But yeah, this is actually one of my favourite Cold War ionization chambers, the DP3. By the way, the actual unit here doesn't have an internal radiation detector. It takes a massive probe. That was what I was just unscrewing the thing on, because that goes in there. But yeah, I do like the fact this is backlit, and for a Soviet device, it goes to 500R rather than just to 200R. So yeah, ×1 scale is 0 to 1 Rontgen. So basically the same thing as the 100 milli, like the milli Rontgen scale on the CDV 715. And then like a CDV 715 or a 720, it then goes all the way up to the 500R. And then you use the bottom scale for 500R. Yeah, I mean, again, this is the problem with the Polish Cold War stuff. Again, out of frame. But these are very similar units. The Polish ones are never as robust. The actual socket unit bit there is fine. The problem with that one is the probes are pretty dog shit. As in, there's a lot of very weak wiring on the probes, which I think is a lot of the problems the DP66 has had as well. The DP75s weren't as bad with this, but you know, where like the actual wires inside the probe cable were pretty damn weak, so it was very easy for just a wire to rip inside the actual you know, like probe wire, where this thing has like one of those huge like threaded industrial style high voltage cables, even though it's not running much in the way of voltage, you know, a couple of 100 volts, but very low amp. So it's, and this of course has the easy to access fuses on it, because good old Soviet engineering, where yeah, you can just literally take the fuses out like that. Yeah, 2 amp fuses, and that bit there is the bulb on this little bit. Yeah, I can't remember if that's the old bulb or if I put a new bulb in this one. Weirdly, the bulb feels warm, even though it shouldn't, because yeah, is this an old Soviet bulb, or is... Interesting, that's a 36 volt bulb. It's not one of the little 1.5 volt ones like in some of the other things. But yeah, that's the backlight bulb in that thing. And you also have the green and red bulbs on there as well, because I can actually see, I don't know if it will show up on the camera there, through that little hole you can see where the light is coming through that like a stained glass window. I doubt you'll be able to see that very well on there with the light like that. That's pretty cool. There was a company that did that with I think it might have been Anything Radioactive that did it with CDV 700s, but what was really annoying is I wish they'd just sell CDV 700s they bought and replaced the stuff in themselves. But the thing is, they'd only do it as a repair service, so you'd have to have a CDV 700 that was broken first, or you just want it upgraded, send it to them and they do all the new circuit boards. So I never bothered, because you'd have to, you know, buy a CDV 700 separately, then pay whatever the fee was. Where if they just did it as a flat fee, like they would send you a CDV 700 with all the new bits replaced in it, that'd be great. But where you were saying about that with all the capacitors and everything, that's very much like with those MD3s, what the British government had done to the old Mark II Radiacs. I don't think the arsenic bit does Ryler audio, but pretty much every British World War II filter has asbestos in it. Some have shitloads of blue asbestos in as well, which is the worst kind. Especially the military, like, rectangle filters that look a bit like the Soviet EO14s that, like, the Mark IV and Mark V gas masks used. The civilian ones don't contain as much asbestos, but yeah, anything British World War II filter-wise don't breathe through any of it. Because, yeah, they fucking loved shoving all the asbestos into those. And like I said, they went to the high-quality blue asbestos, which killed all the people working in the plants making them. But yeah, so, like I was saying, with the Mark II Radiacs and the MD3s, it's a very similar thing. Basically, the government just replaced the old vacuum tubes with modern resistors. And then, you know, all the old capacitors were swapped out. But basically, it's the same old unit. It's still the same old ionization chamber in them. Funnily enough, they did put an electrical warning symbol on them, like as a health and safety thing, where the old ones never had that, but on the modern ones, they've got like the danger electrocution symbol on the ionization chamber. So you don't learn the hard way of poking it will give you a shock. That's pretty damn cool. But yeah, like I said, I do love the old things like that. Like I said, with the DP2s, because I've got, is it 3 bloody DP2s now, but I might have sold one of them, you know, sold it as a spares and repairs, I think. But yeah, the first DP2 I bought, it sadly didn't have, and I think it was the guy you put me in contact with, sadly didn't still have the control source inside, but that one actually worked perfectly. Although I can't remember if that was one that eventually just burned out or something, you know, that one time I tried to power it on, no matter how I, you know, wired it up to a battery, it just suddenly wouldn't work anymore. So again, that was probably a capacitor or something burning out in it after a bit of use. I had one DP2 that I bought that was just a total brick. But again, that was when I actually got quite cheap, and I bought it hoping the control source was in it, and sadly it wasn't. And then I eventually got one with the control source, where third time lucky, I specifically sent inquiries to sellers saying, could they find them with the original wax seal still intact? And then I had to pay a fair bit for that, but then I eventually obviously got the one with the bit that's kept behind two little glass jars in it, that thing. Which is still, it's not the most radioactive thing I own, but it's the scariest of the samples in terms of the sense that this particular thing, you know, actually belches out radiation, and it's beta radiation, so you can't hide from it in a sense when it's opened. Whereas the, you know, like the older type, some of the other things like AM241 is technically, because it's an alpha emitter, much scarier if it gets inside you, but it only gives off a little bit of gamma from the outside, and as long as you don't eat it, you're fine. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So I need to be very careful when I power that DP3 up that I get the wires around the right way. Although I think I've got it right, obviously, every time I've previously run that one. Although maybe that has better polarity protection just because it's a vehicle-based one. I don't know. But yeah. Maybe I've just lucked out every time and not wired it up the wrong way. So I don't think it actually says plus and minus on it. But like I said, the cool thing with at least this one and a couple of others is it does have several fuses built into it, as well as the light bulbs in these also act as a fuse, because the light bulb's designed where if too much electricity flows through it, the bulb in theory blows before any of the other components. But that's still not a very good, you know, like 100% method of protection. It's one of those things that, you know, is a nice feature to have that might save you once or twice. But, you know, eventually even the bulb itself can surge, and then the bulb surging burns out the unit anyway. But yeah, the old Warsaw Pact things are cool. But yeah, DP3s, for anyone who don't know, this is vehicle-based. It's what they used to have in like the BTRs, the BMPs, the like any of the T-tank series. I think Heinz had these mounted as well, and some of the other choppers. But basically, you either had a probe inside or outside the vehicle, and these just ran off the vehicle battery. If you have a look at like people doing inside of old Soviet armored vehicles, if you look closely, you always tend to see these mounted on the inside. And some milsim games that actually model the interiors of armored vehicles pretty faithfully, you will actually find a DP3 mounted inside. But yeah, out of all my commie things, I think this is my favorite, the DP3, just because it is really responsive and works well. Because the thing with the DP3 is when I compared that to the old, whichever the CDV unit is, I think it's like the 718 or something it's called, the one that has the really long wire, so you can put the ionization chamber like outside a fallout shelter, and then, you know, you run the wire to the unit. It has like something like a 1 minute delay between the reading hitting the ion chamber and it going down the wire to the unit. So if there's a horrible radiation breach, you're only going to find out about it like a minute after it's happened. Whereas the DP3 is pretty much an instant reading, where it's obviously got a pretty damn good, you know, like cable and relay system, where I think because of the ionization chamber plus some of the thinking electronics, if you want to call it that, are mounted together, it's not just the ion chamber on the end of a really long stick, if you like. Yeah, just don't breathe through the arsenic filter. Again, I don't know if the arsenic filter actually was the bit that contained asbestos, or if it was just like a charcoal add-on, the arsenic filter, but I wouldn't breathe through it. Because again, with old filters, even if there's not asbestos in them, you still have a much higher risk of like the charcoal and whatever else leaking out and you breathing that in, which still isn't good for your lungs. Oh yeah, and it's over there, so I won't pick it up. But with the Viet Cong helmet, where I was going to tie some paracord, and I did get my paracord to tie it up with, I found it was actually easier just to get a cable tie to do the inner liner to get how I wanted it. I need to bloody remember as well to do a video on that. I'll do it tomorrow, the video on the British Mark IV gas mask that I keep forgetting to do, and the Chinese rip-off Brody helmet. Well, it's not a rip-off one, because it's like a reenactor's style replica. a bit like how China does the replica Stowhelms, like I've got behind me somewhere. I've got a real Stowhelm there, one of the firefighting ones that's got stuff on it. But I thought the other Stowhelm was behind me somewhere. But there's a British Mark 7 helmet in there. Some of the ones. It's probably one that's been picked up and put down somewhere else. But oh well, it's not important right now. Swedish gas masks. I have got right behind me a Foshida, or however it's pronounced, but sadly only is a civilian variant of it. Oh, and there's the modern GP5 filter that's actually not got asbestos in that you might just about be able to see from that angle that Hype sent me, so that was very nice of him. This is actually a really fucking comfy mask, and I've got one of the really old Swedish ones as well, like a 1950s one that's based off of the British civilian mask from World War II. Like the folk mask, whatever it's called, that literally is like a grey rubber thing. Yeah, well, I know Hype for a fact that the DP2, when I opened up the DP2, it had really good shielding from the high voltage circuitry and that, so it didn't interfere with the readings on the ion chamber. Whereas a lot of even Western ones, when I've opened it up, don't actually have a shielding section around like the like the step-up transformers. But the DP2 actually had like its own like kind of Faraday box for the stuff like that. So yeah, it was proper. That sounds like the right one, Niels. I've done a video on it, but is it in this room? No, it used to be stored down there, but I think I moved it. I know where it always used to be stored because it was stored on like the foot bench of my piano. But yeah, the DP2 specifically, because the DP2 has this, and I think the British Mark II and Mark MD3 Radiacs use the same sort of system as well, where there's like a little Faraday cage built around the high voltage equipment. But yeah, a lot of Western ones don't. Specifically, it's not hanging up there anymore. But the orange, like the Plessy PDR M82, that's one of the things I hate with that, is it has no electronic shielding. So if you get near high voltage electric circuitry, it gives you a false radiation reading. Because obviously the electricity gets into the circuitry, and then I guess it passes that electricity through the Geiger tube, and then it assumes that there's like a voltage reading coming out the Geiger tube, and it fucks the reading up. So if you get it near a plasma ball or whatever, it completely messes it up. Whereas the really good old Soviet style ones, that is not an issue at all, like you were saying, because they actually do it good internal shielding to stop the high voltage stuff inside from messing up the reading. And they do it sort of, vice versa, where you don't get an external electrical interference sort of reading thing coming in because of the fact that obviously it's been shielded properly. No, I don't know. I do know that the Soviets, a bit like the PD 500 shunt tube, the Mullard PD 500, I do know there is a good Soviet equivalent to it, a rectifier valve, which is another really good one to run high voltage through and just blast X-rays out. But Mullard PD 500s, I think, are one of my favorite tubes of just connect it to a high voltage circuit and then, oh shit, it's like literally a mini X-ray tube. But the Soviets, unlike Mullard, didn't actually print on the side that warning this tube emits X-rays when it's running. But I know like Sovtech tubes for guitar amps are still really good. Oh, and I finally got bandage scissors like I wanted. Not from Amazon, because like I said, they fucked it up twice. These were bandage scissors, but they weren't the right angle ones I wanted. So, but because these cost more when I looked them up than the scissors I bought, I thought I won't return those. Then they sent me whatever the fuck it was the other day, and I had to do a return on that to get my money back. But yeah, finally got some proper bandage scissors, because they've got that bit that won't cut into you. So yeah, you can actually hook a bandage up and do the proper it's just stainless steel apparently, but it's one of that weird rainbowy stainless steels. I don't think the camera's going to focus on that. It says stainless steel, but I quite like the look of the rainbow ones. even though it makes no difference in terms of stainless surgical steel. But it's just where they've got that kind of weird patina to them. But yeah. What I'm going to do is I've got a little medic molly bag somewhere, and I want to actually set that molly bag up with some proper bandages and stuff like that, and then stick it on my body armor. Because what I'm trying to do with that body armor, yeah, check your privilege, Rajiv. They're turning the scissors gay. The things in the water, yeah. But I'm yeah, gonna set up that little medical bag so I can have a gas mask satchel on the molly thing, so I can have my armored vest literally ready to go with a gas mask set up on it. I've got the I've got an actual hydration pouch pack on the back of it. Yeah, it's because they're proper bandage scissors. They're not meant to be straight. But yes, we all now call these gay scissors. Yeah, because they're rainbow coloured and they're bent. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. You've come up with something quite funny there. But yes, regardless, I've got a hydration pack thing on the back. I'll show you that now, actually, so I can put my camelback in it. So let me just put that there. I wouldn't normally store them like that, but I'll get the vest. Get a button on my aircon by accident then when I walk past it. Ugh. So I need to take the tag off, look, but what I've got there is one of those Viper bags that is designed so that can go in there. I don't think it has a little external, I don't think this one has a little external bit. I think you're just meant to do it out the side like that, if you can see that. But yeah, then I can have the hydration pack on the back of this body armor with the plates in. And like I said, I just need to now find where I had my little first aid molly bag, put that on there, and then I've got that set up. I've also put a knife holster on there now because I've got a couple of good field knives. I thought I might as well get a proper knife holster put on the front, and then I can actually put one of my, for example, because I couldn't find like scabbard adapters for, say, something like this. What I can do is, oh, look, it's come with a load of foam in it. I don't need what's in that. But yeah, I can then just slide that in there. Again, I might not use that knife. I have got some other sort of knives, and then yeah, the armor can so is that molly thing as well. Not molly thing, this bit. The hydration tube would actually go through there. Yeah, so then you can link the thing up on the back like that. So you've got the hydro pack on the back, linked up with the stuff on the front like that. That would actually work quite well. Yeah, I'll leave that on there. That's East German on there. So, what's it? Deutsche Demokrat Republik, Commie Germany. Doesn't exist anymore as a nation. The sort of Soviet Germany, if you like. Right, I'll just pop this back in the corner. But yeah, so then I can have that armor as Bomber Manson, Chrome Manson. Let me look that up now, Rajiv. Sorry. Ooh, what have I done? Oh, I've done. There we go. Something weird happened then. I think I must have knocked the key on the keyboard when I was moving the body armor. I'm just going to look it up now. Hang on. Bomber Manson, Chrome Manson. Ooh, yes. I definitely see what you mean. Yeah, it's got that nice sort of rainbow oil slick kind of looking sort of thing to it, hasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I like that. It almost looks like a mirror, some of the chrome ones as well, like a really nice reflective yeah, like I said, I was all right, gear guy. I have the same vest. Could you please tell me what type it is and anything else, because the label was cut off? I can check, but again, it's I know the company that makes it. I did let me look up the video I did on it. And so the company that makes it is called, I was looking at my shorts video I did on it. So it's a conine protection. I think it's called the Hawk. But again, with some of their things, I think they don't have like the normal advertising page for them. So anyway, this is the website for the company that makes these things, Geared Guy. So it's definitely that brand, but I'm not sure. I think it's called the Hawk. But why that's confusing me is because a load of UK police vests are called Hawk, made by different companies. So I know it's definitely them that make it, but like I said, I'll have a quick look at the label on the back of mine. It's got the label in it, but I don't know, other than numbers, if it actually specifies it's a Hawk. Let me have a quick look again. No, even though all their labels are still there, it doesn't specify a vest model. It just says conine protection. And then the other labels are all about the specific, you know, like armor panel ratings inside, even though I've put upgrade panels in. Yeah, have a good evening, Hype. Thanks for coming on. All right, so the fillers for them, any of the police style fillers will work. So let me have a look for you, Geared Guy. And it does have the fillers that go over the shoulder. So let me just, if I search police vest filler, that's why I specifically bought one with the filler inside, because that way it's, you know you're getting the right type for it, where you can sometimes buy the fillers separately really cheap. But, so I'm just having a look on eBay if I can spot any. But yeah, I can find actual plates, but at the moment, let me just search police Kevlar and see if it comes up with anything. Because yeah, it's the combined stab, or maybe panel. It's what you call a soft armor panel, basically. But yeah, no, eBay isn't being very useful at the moment. But weirdly, on there earlier, I saw an old armor panel. There it is. If I can get this out under my channel badge thing. Yeah, this one, it's a weird shape. This was specifically, I'm trying to remember what this one fits into, because this is one of those specific, can't remember what that went in now, this one, but this was like one of those specific like weird shaped ones that went into something. But this arm provides ballistic protection from protection from edge weapons, ballistic plus stab. So this is very much like the police style ones, but I can't remember what this one's from, because it's not a full torso size one. I think this is from like one of the smaller little vests I had, or one of the bits of add-on armor, where I think this might have been a groin protector one actually. Don't worry, I'm not getting my dick out. But I think this might have been one of those ones that was in like the front of a groin protector, where because the shape of that would make sense as a groin protector. and it might have just been like, you know, obviously it would be in like an extra bit of body armor, and obviously that Velcro there was just how it attached onto it. But yeah, like I said, these are just normally in there, just pretty standard sort of Kevlar panels. I think, yeah, I can feel that it's got several layers to it. But yeah, right, Medic Gaming, I'll be off in a minute anyway. Yeah, that's the problem. Like they're saying, that's the problem I've had. That's why I bought another vest specifically still with panels in it. So, and then I was really pleased because what I was originally going to do, I don't know if you saw the video, is I was originally going to get that vest with the soft filler in it, and then wear my plate carrier over it, which did just about work. But then I realised that that vest I've got actually has the huge zip up front and back things that you can fit full size plates in. So I just put the plates in that vest. So yeah, I've got that as a level 4 vest now. So you've got your handgun and knife protection bit in the soft body armor that wraps all the way around, and now I've got a level 4 front and back plate. And then because there was still a little bit of room in the back, I put my much like weaker plate in the back because it fit in there as well, just on top of the level 4 plate. So that again won't add much protection to it, but it would make it marginally better, as in, you know, stuff has to at least penetrate like the extra stab or pistol plate, whatever it is, before it then gets to the level 4 plate in the rear. But I've got my like genuine like good police level 4 plate as the front plate, and then I've got a Chinese ultra high molecular weight polyethylene level 4 plate in the back, and that is a decent plate because I checked people who had bought the exact one and done videos testing it with various handguns and rifle rounds. And, you know, everything it was rated to stop, it did stop. So it wasn't one of those plates where they said, oh, yeah, it's a level 4 plate and it's actually like a level 2 plate. It was a genuine, like, you know, it was stopping regular 5.56 and 7.62 rounds. So, yeah, so I've got that vest all set up like that. And that's why I want to now set, like I say, all the molly stuff up. So if I genuinely had a proper shit hits the fan thing, that vest has everything on it I need. Because obviously at the moment it's got all the armor in it now. But like I said, I want to put like little first aid where I'll have to find where I stored it. But I've got like a little molly first aid pouch, you know, where you can then put all the bandages, like those medical scissors in, so I can have that as a thing. Because the molly stuff is getting quite filled up on that now, and it adds a lot of bulk, I might just have the gas mask satchel near it, so I can just grab and go with a gas mask satchel with an over-the-shoulder strap. Yeah, like I said, Virtus would be a lot more expensive, but again, like I said, that would be good as well, because that's like proper military grade. But I think that Conine Protection that does that vest, because they do military vests as well, not necessarily for the UK, but, you know, just like random generic, like PMC type vests and ones for journalists. I'm pretty sure that vest, although it was an ex-police one, because it has, you know, the massive panel plates in it, I think that is one of the vests they often do for, you know, like various sort of war press and, like, you know, all those sort of things. That's good. I'd like some free samples from Avon if they can send them, but that is very nice of them if that's true. Because like I was saying earlier, I was pissing about with that Camelback, and wherever I put the not the K3, the knockoff C50, wherever I just put my genuine C50. No. But yeah, I am an Avon fanboy, as you can probably guess. But yeah, I genuinely, like I said, like Avon stuff, because it's nice that there's stuff in Britain that actually still kind of works. But yeah, like I said, I'm just a big fanboy of Avon, just because, like I said, every Avon gas mask I've ever had actually is well built and works. Other than the escape hood, which I didn't like. But yeah. It's kind of nice we still have something that we can export that other countries like as well, where I said a lot of British stuff there is just awful. But yeah, or we just don't make it at all. But like I said, Avon is good because it's just actually well-built stuff. Like I said, I actually did do a quick video on an FM53 once. What was I going to say? I did one on the FM53 NH15. Which one was that? Is that the escape hood? Oh yeah, that was the NHD. Yeah, but yeah, I just don't like I said. Escape hoods, I can kind of understand the logic of them, but I just like actual masks. But yeah, that one didn't exhale very well when I had it on. I think I somehow blocked the valve up, didn't I? But yeah, anyway, I will be off in a minute. But yeah, what was I saying? So, like I said, I have actually, speaking of Avon though, like I said, one of the videos I need to get round to filming that I keep not getting round to was the World War II Mark IV T-Mic special that's an Avon made one. When I cleaned it up, I could see it was Avon made. But, you know, obviously in like late 30s, early 40s, whatever it is. So I keep meaning to do a video on that and forgetting. I do really want to get one of the World War II microphones, and it's one of those annoying things that now and again I've seen them at good prices, not bothered buying them, and then keep getting pissed off I haven't bought them. Because, you know, like the ones that went in the Mark V's. But yeah, so I've got the T-Mic special made by Avon from the 40s. That, again, I keep meaning to do a video on, but I had to clean it up before I did a video on it, and then after I cleaned it up, I forgot to get around to doing the video. Because the problem with it was that when I got it, it was in absolute filthy condition. Yeah, because like I said, it's just like with that, I think it's because everybody smoked back then. Nearly all of those old masks, even if they weren't used for anything, you know, and got dirty because of that, I think just because they were sat around on desks where everybody was just non-stop smoking, they always just have that horrible, like, cigarette tar kind of stuff just on the surface of them. So, yeah, the sheer amount of dirty water when I was cleaning that mask off. But, yeah, it is in a condition now. There's an Avon M50. It's what the US Army uses. Totally not Josh. I've got the C50. I used to have an M50 and I traded it for a night vision set. But yeah, so the M50 is like the C50, but it has like its own unique filters. It's the proprietary filters, a bit like how the Scott GSR has the bayonet filters. The M50 is a bit like that, where it's meant to have self-sealing little valves. So, you know, when you take the filter off, it's meant to seal itself. But yeah, obviously the C50 is just classic 40mm. So for me, it's more useful because you can actually get replacement filters easily. But yeah, so obviously this is 40mm NATO. The M50 is, yeah, so the US Army uses the M50. But like I said, it is literally this face piece just with different things. But like I said, the FM53 was a really kind of cool one, but the FM53 was, like I said, it wasn't one that I got to keep. It was just one somebody kind of let me do a video on. And I liked it, but again, there's a lot of features like that on a mask like that that you think is useful, but for somebody like me, I'd have no need for them. But like I said, I'm at least glad now that with the Camelback thing, that I can actually not hate drinking tubes. Because like I said, with holding the canteen above your head the old-fashioned way of that, they're kind of a bit crap drinking tubes, even when they're done, you know, built to a good standard. But like with the Camelback, it just makes the drinking tubes actually practical to use. So yeah, like I said, that's why I've now got that Camelback on the body armor, because I'll probably get a custom satchel for that C50, like a decent quality one, and then put all the other shit in it. Yeah, there's an East German officer's cap there. If I can get that down without knocking the mannequin over, I'll show you that right before I go up. But yeah, that's the East German officer's cap. MITR, let me have a look. I probably haven't. MITR, is that a mask? Is the MITR M1? Oh, so that's cool. So it's a half face mask rather than... That's cool. So a military half face mask rather than a, like, just a civilian kind of... Yeah, that's pretty cool. No, I didn't even know that existed before, so that is pretty cool. Yeah. I actually like the look of that. But yeah. Because like I said, there are some fairly good, like, other brands, like, you know, like the 3M ones, but order now. So is that one you can actually buy on the Avon website? Oh, I have to put my email in, but yeah. I said that's actually quite interesting later. But yeah, like I said, it's a German hat I'm allowed to wear because it's one from a horrible communist dictatorship. Although, again, if you're familiar with East Germany, you'll notice that the uniforms aren't very different than West Germany. Not West Germany, sorry. Previous Germany that YouTube doesn't like me speaking of. But in a lot of films, if you look closely, you'll see ones done after the 90s when all this was cheap surplus. Lots of World War II films will have East German uniforms being kind of repurposed as, like World War II German stuff. But if you're used to the stuff, especially the buttons, that's an easy way of telling because it's just, they have the same. Doesn't really focus on this camera, but a lot of the East German stuff you can tell when it's being put as World War II stuff because the buttons look different. So yeah, there are quite a few things like that look different. But yeah, have you seen the USND Mark IV gas mask online? Isn't that? I suppose that means with a riot environment, though. Speaking about that, the mitre or whatever it is, that does kind of make sense that you can slap the goggles on for like riot control type agents and all that sort of stuff. USND Mark IV that's the World War II one, isn't it? Now, I'm pretty sure that isn't the one I've got. I've got the Navy diaphragm mask, which I think's a bit different, isn't it? Again, like I said, I have done some videos on World War II masks, US masks. It's just they're not that common in the UK. But I know the one I had, it wasn't that one with the filter on the back of the neck. Because that's the one they have in Dawn of the Dead, isn't it? The original one. The SWAT team go into the building with the zombies in it and like the gang members at the beginning. They've got those with the filters around the back of their neck. The one I had just had the standard pipe type thing at the front and the pipe had all cracked up. I've got a couple of GSRs. Not the more modern GSRs, but I've got the old Scott ones. Now, that's an FRR there. That's not a GSR. I do have GSRs, but I've probably not got them handy. But, again, like I said, the reason or at least with the older designs, I never found these comfortable was that bit always sticks into the bottom of my chin. It's normally that ridge there. That lip never sits right on my chin. I don't know why, but I think that's one of the reasons I never liked the GSR style design. But yeah. But anyway, the ones I've got are the old Scott ones because, like I said, I've got a couple of old GSRs and I've got these. Again, Hype does weirdly when he was in the chat earlier. Hype actually likes it. Oh yeah, that's the Chinese one with the broken. I need to clean that. That's filthy. That was the Chinese one where the air leaks from it because the drinking tube came off. But I know that was why apparently China stopped putting drinking tubes on their masks. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I will head off now. The YouTube chat is broken on the phone screen, by the way. So luckily, because I'm on a desktop, I can read the chat still. But yeah, typical where I can't do these streams properly just using the phone and sounds. But anyway, thanks for coming on, everyone. It's been a good chat. Like I said, I do need to get on and do stuff, and I haven't had dinner yet. So I'm trying to, at the moment, eat up anything that's going out of date that I've got in the cupboard because I've been doing that sort of thing, where I've gone through, I think Hype went on earlier, Rajiv. He said he was going to bed a bit earlier. But, yeah, I'm trying to do that thing where, I'm trying to not let anything go to waste, where I've, found stuff at the back of the cupboard that's been running out of date. So for the last few days, I've been doing the thing of, like trying to date rotate the food a bit better and eat up anything that, even if I don't really feel like it is. I've eaten some stuff that's been out of date, but not the stuff that's like a used by, just the best before stuff. What IG is that? Instagram. I technically have one, but I can't remember what it is because I only made one because there was a load of imitation accounts. Let me see if I can find my Instagram because, like I said, I have not used it in ages, but I technically have one. But I can't remember what it is. So, if I can still log into it, I'll tell you what my account's called when I log in. It is Weaponsandstuff93. It is this one. This is the one that isn't a knockoff one, so I barely use it. I'll need to remember to log back in if you're going to send me a thing on that. But yeah, but that's it. Like I said, I didn't really use Instagram because there were some like knockoff accounts that were pretending to be me and then trying to link people to scam things, whatever it was. I ended up making one just so I could say this is my actual one, you know, just so people weren't going, oh, why did you try and scam me on Instagram or whatever it was. It's because there were people doing the knockoff accounts. So at least by having one there, I've actually... You have reminded me, Rajiv, that I've got a load of out-of-date pot noodles I need to get round to eating up. Because where you saying about chili powder, I've got some various spice powders that I like to put into pot noodles to make them a bit tastier than they are by default. But yeah, I might have a pot noodle then, even though that's not really proper dinner. But I do have pot noodles to eat up as well. That has reminded me about that. Anyway, right, I'll catch everybody. I'll hopefully be on tomorrow, but... yeah, have a good evening, everybody. Good day, whatever time zone you're in. And see you.